And Pat's right. I had the umbilical cord like this. So it's fascinating to me because each of you remembers Matt in your own way and in your own time space. So for us, even on the brothers, because I was talking to Pat, and he was on the mainland for much of his career. After college, he stayed on the mainland. So I don't know if you know my parents, Bay and Tahiti, but I always thought afterwards that they had an insidious plot to bring us all home. And that was send the boys to put all the pressure on and send the boys to the East Coast where they freeze their asses off for 4 years and then come back and appreciate Hawaii. Well, that didn't work. That worked for Matt because Matt followed in Dad's footsteps, went to Dartmouth, Terry went to Dartmouth, I went to Dartmouth, but didn't work for Pat. Pat was a rebel, so he went to the West Coast, LA, and he stayed there. He's the only guy that stayed there. So Pat's memory of Matt is very different from mine because I came back in '88 and lived through his coming out, which was Chinese family, very traditional, especially my mother from Singapore, because she's first generation. My father was third generation, we're fourth generation. And so, and forgive me if I offend anyone, but especially my Chinese brethren, but I'm gonna try to imitate my mom a little bit. So very much so, what does any Chinese parent want for their kids? You become a lawyer or a doctor, pay me money, right? And it's just funny because my mom doesn't speak like that. She actually has a very Singlish accent. So I don't know if you know that, but I grew up around other Cantonese, and that's what they sound like. So that's what I know. Anyway, so Matt had all the pressure on him, right? Number one son. How many of you have seen Crazy Rich Asians? Awesome, right? Great movie. But Golding, right? Number one son. All the pressure. You have to succeed. You have to make the family proud, you carry on the family name. So fascinating to me because I think it was 2 or 3 years old, that's the story goes, that mom put him in front of the piano and that's when he started playing. And just uber talented. I mean, he from a very young age, musically just very inclined. And he could listen to music and then literally play it on the keyboard and sing. Which, Pat and I try to emulate, not even close. And also very intelligent. I mean, so he went to Dartmouth, then he went to UPenn Law School, and started at Chung Dao. And that's where I basically came in after college. And I was working at Bank of Hawaii, and I had an assignment out at Pearl Ridge Branch. And he was living out on that side of the city. And so I asked him if I could stay with him. And he said, sure. And then the first night I stayed with him, he said, Bob, you can stay with me, but there's a few things you have to know about me. And so he took me to Hula's, and we danced the night away, and it was awesome. But that was my first real experience with him, and he came out after that. I give the guy props because that takes courage. Because again, in Chinese family, that's not really looked on actually anywhere, right? In the 80s and 90s. And so he had that courage to come out and to start living his life. It's interesting because Pat and I, twins, opposite sides of the coast. And what do we major in? We major in, I was government and he was political science, same thing. And what do you typically go in after that? Become a lawyer, right? And so I called him and I said, Matt, so you're an attorney, what do you think about it? And I hope there's some, again, sorry if I don't want to offend any attorneys, but his perspective was, Bob, you would hate it because you're not an asshole. I said, what? And I had interned with Senator Matsunaga, and I was kind of on this track. And he said, Bob, our judicial system is adversarial. Right? So it's typically plaintiff against defendant, and usually the biggest asshole wins. And that's not you. You know, you would hate that. You would hate your life. And I said, Matt, do you hate your life? He said, well, you know, he went into contract law, which is a little different. But, you know, he wasn't, you could tell he wasn't living his life. Right? And he eventually, and again, I give the guy credit, he took that plunge. Because entertaining is a tough gig. I mean, you don't know when your next gig is coming from. And it's all, you know, creative, but there's starving artists, that's a stereotype for a reason. But he did it, and he never looked back. And I give the guy so much credit. You know, I look up to him. Because of that. And I just hope that I can live like that. So with that, just remembering him and what he meant to all of us in your own way, and how he really lived large. I mean, the guy was large. We all love that about him, right? I mean, come on. There was a picture of he and I at Dartmouth at one of our reunions where we overlapped, and we were down by the river, the Connecticut River. There's a big kind of dock there, and I'm there, and I'm kind of like this because I'm freezing, and he's there. He's like this, you know, and he's huge, and it's like that was Matt, bigger than life, and just, you know, no apologies. And I really respect him for that, and I look up to him for that. And again, I just hope I can live my life like him. So thank you all for listening.